G'day, this video profiles Red Bluff Track, which runs between the border track on the South Australian-Victoria border all the way to the Murrayville-Nhill road, and it's part of the Big Desert area. So here we are turning off the border track. So we've been past here a few times, wondered what the hell this track was heading out, and it actually turns out it's a pretty cool way to exit from Red Bluff Campground if you're hanging out in that area. You can just shoot down here and then take the first exit, and that'll get you out of the park pretty quickly. Really nice drive. We're going through some conservation areas on both sides of the track here. Some really nice mallee and heathland vegetation along this track. Super easy track for anyone to drive, so it's a great way to come into Red Bluff Campground without having to go through all those muddy sections further to the south. There's one little decent sandhill you climb up at the very start, which is sort of parallel with Red Bluff Campground to the right, and you get over the crest and it is off the charts. The views, we was absolutely taken by this. Beautiful spot just to see across the whole Big Desert area. A little bit different to what you see elsewhere. So I should note that this vegetation is part of a firebreak that runs along the boundary of the park. So at the moment we're in a conservation area, but very shortly we'll enter the firebreak where there's active management of the vegetation, and it is cut down to some extent from time to time. So just the track essentially just rolls up and down some very shallow sand dunes. It's quite a different drive to other tracks in the park. Here's the turn off to Firebreak Track, and this is probably the logical place to head out if you're wanting to exit from the park. Just take off down there and you're basically back on the normal roads fairly quickly. And then the track starts heading along the boundary, and you can see the vegetation has been previously chopped down a little bit on the other side, on the left hand side of the track. Hadn't been along here before, we had no idea what to expect, and I've got to say it was a bit of a journey. It takes a couple of hours to do this track, and we was heading along at a reasonable pace. Some sections you're passing by farming properties on the boundary, other times there's big patches of forest. So there are a couple of sections along here where there is a bit of mud and a bit of water sits around, so it's pretty easy to get around. I just showed a couple, but there's actually quite a few. Nothing that would be a problem for anyone to get through. There is another track actually running parallel to the left of the screen. It's probably about 400 or 500 metres off this track we're on. I believe it's the other side of the firebreak, but it's not mapped under the current mapping, and so I'm not quite sure what the legality is if you were to head along there, but I must admit it did look intriguing. From time to time we got to see the track as we're going over sand dunes, and I was very curious to see what was over there, but we didn't venture this time. I just stuck to the Red Bluff Track. Doesn't look like many people come along here. There's obviously a few just getting and coming through the park. It is a great way to cross the park, something a little bit different. There's plenty of exit points, as you can see as we go along. Most of those are only very short tracks that take you down to the more formal road system in amongst the rural area. We are now entering the state forest, so we are driving along a state forest easement, but the state forest actually heads off to the south, to the right of the screen. So you can see the intact vegetation versus the firebreak on the left. Overall track conditions were really good. The sand's very easy to drive, it's not super soft. There were a few sections where there was a bit of debris on the track and you just have to be a little bit wary about where you put your tyres in case you stick one of your tyres with a bit of debris or whatever. There's another one of those bog holes that you've come across. So you really can put the foot to the floor here, but you know, we were just cruising along probably at 25 to 30 k's in times. Just depends. It does bounce up and down a little bit in some sections, and there are certainly some sections which have a little bit deeper, softer sand, so you just need to take it a little bit easier. And this is the final leg now, so we're approaching the Murrayville-Nhill road. Anyway, not the most adventurous full drive track I've been on, but it's an interesting one and it's a great one for beginners, I think, if you want to just cruise around. And here we are at the Murrayville-Nhill road. So that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Catch you out there. It takes about 2 to 2.5 hours to get down this track. I would definitely rate it as an easy track.